ask everyone a question. How many of you know what a cradle is? Let's see a show of hands. All right. For those who are confused, this is a cradle. It's designed to keep a baby safe inside. However, as a verb, to cradle is to hold something with intent and care, which is why I urge you to do this. Cradle your creativity. This jest was my form of creative expression. To me, being a tad bit humorous and charming are synonymous. But if I were to let the possibility of others making incorrect perceptions about me stop me from making this quip, I would be giving in to criticism. Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Jinisha Bohra, and I stand here today to remind you to cradle your creativity and cut off criticism. My mother always knew that I was a creature of creativity. I think it was mostly because of the fact that she put me in skating classes and abacus classes the same way she did with my brother. But upon seeing that, unlike him, I was neither balancing myself nor Einstein after them, she decided that singing and dancing were more appropriate for me. I mean, she was right, because the transition from coming out of a skating class, crying, and begging for her to let me quit, to glowing with joy after I learned a new raga was very evident. I'm 17 years old right now, and I cannot thank her enough for making this decision. I grew up dancing to Bollywood classics, singing at every chance I got, and making elaborate birthday cards for everyone I love. As a creative individual, I can say with confidence that criticism limits us. I remember being limitless growing up. As a child who loved singing, I was loud and I was unapologetic. I was singing on my own beat without a care in the world. This picture shows exactly that. And I'm sure every single one of us has a picture of our childhood selves doing something that we enjoy. But doesn't it seem like we started losing that part bit by bit? You see, the first time I noticed myself being less expressive out of the fear of criticism was when I hesitated to like a post on social media. What will my friends think of me was the first question that crossed my mind, even before, do I like this post? I mean, even when you look around nowadays, doesn't it seem like everyone is wearing the same clothes, using the same slang, and losing individuality? Do not get me wrong. I participate in my fair share of trends, but I think it's equally important to have something that piques your interest. In this day and age, social media becomes a tool to showcase this distinctiveness. However, although it does provide a platform, it also makes us second-guess ourselves. As a result of this, we just aren't being creative enough anymore. My hypothesis states that it's because we fear being critiqued, and I can put money where my mouth is. When I was researching, I came across a study from 2022, which shows that everyone who is on social media practices self-monitoring behaviors due to the perception that others have about them. The study goes on to explain how everyone, the way they express themselves in society, along with their food intake, is influenced by the people who are interacting with them and their decisions online. It's scary to think how your diet could be influenced by unknown netizens, isn't it? Along with this, I found another study from 2025 which shows how negative feedback aimed at bridging the gap between current performance and external standards can either diminish or enhance your creative outcomes. You see, if the critic aims at improving your performance, it's all well and good. But if the critic does not have your best interests at heart, you might need to learn how to deal with criticism, the same way I did, and I still continue to. My first experience with criticism was when I was 10 years old. This happened right before the COVID pandemic hit, so without anyone to tell me otherwise, I fell victim to this critique. When I was 10 years old, I had just performed on stage, and once I got down, someone told me that my voice sounded flat. As a 10-year-old who had devoted all her time to hone one skill, singing, this was a massive blow to my pride. Since we went into quarantine right after this, nobody convinced me otherwise, and I fell victim to the idea that maybe my voice is not good enough anymore. You see, I see this happening to a lot of people around me nowadays, but instead of in-person experiences like mine, this criticism is received online. It's uncanny to think how strangers online could affect your creative liberties, and in some cases, make you want to quit altogether. But it's equally important to understand that these strangers exploit their anonymity and they make comments that make the other people feel apprehensive about their work. Social media was introduced as a platform for people to connect with like-minded individuals, but nowadays it feels like the opposite. If the algorithm pushes your content in the wrong direction, you might be stepping into a battlefield you did not know existed. But what if I were to tell you that there was a way to deal with these critics by outsmarting them? I like to call this the techniques to tolerate trolls. You see, after I had this experience with criticism and I went into this creative block, I started developing these techniques. After I started developing these techniques, my first technique came to me when I was in a conversation with my music teacher. She told me that there was scope for improvement, however, I wasn't that far off gone. Her advice was genuine, and she reminded me that she was someone I could trust for feedback. It was then that I realized that the real skill in dealing with criticism isn't toughness, it's discernment. It's knowing how to identify the source and recognize when a critic deserves your attention and when it does not. You see, you would not consider going to a dentist for a health concern related to your heart, would you? I don't know about you, but I would not. Jokes apart, this is simply because you know that the dentist does not specialize in open heart surgeries. In the same exact way, you should not listen to every piece of feedback that you get because the person might not be a reliable source. If I were to have listened to the one person who made the decision to judge me rather than advise me, I would have never been in a band with my friends. I would have missed out on amazing experiences. But most of all, I would have lost the one thing that makes me feel passionate: music. Alongside this revelation, I realized another thing with time: my second technique. You see, 10-year-old Jinisha was devastated when someone told her that her voice sounded flat, because to her, that meant the person saying that simply hated her. As a 17-year-old with a lot more confidence, I can say with conviction that the person did not hate me. She just thought that my voice was flat. This is my second technique: to understand that criticism isn't always personal. I realized this when I actually made a comment about someone else's skill and drew parallels between the two situations, the one I faced and the one I projected. When you're talking about the one I projected, I had just watched a movie with my friends, and after it, I realized that I was dissatisfied. I expressed it to my friends, telling them that I don't hate the actors, I just don't like the movie. Hearing myself say that out loud was like an epiphany, and I felt like a complete grown-up. This is when I realized that the same way the person did not like my voice, I did not enjoy the movie. And in the same way that she did not hate me for my voice, I did not hate the actors for the movie. These were simply two independent opinions that could very well exist parallel to one another. Although this realization took me a while, I'm glad it's something that I've learned because I have a long life ahead of me. As a part of Gen Z, I know we feel compelled to share our ideas online, and it can be very tough to muster the courage. The parents here need to understand that self-expression is just a little bit harder for us because with one click, the entire world has access to our ideas, and who knows how people will react. But if there's one thing I know for sure, is that parents only want to support their children and see them grow, because I know mine do. So, just know that if your child has a creative spirit, just like my mom's did, you have to be their support system if they ever face criticism. And for my fellow creators out there, my third and my final technique is to turn that fire into fuel. You see, everyone has the freedom to question you, and even when they do not, your actions are the only thing that's in your control, not theirs. So, I want you to prove those people who doubt you wrong with your ideas, because that is your biggest asset. You will either learn or you will succeed. And to me, that sounds like a win-win situation. So, I stand here today to ask you and try to convince you to rekindle your creativity. After trying my luck at both abacus and skating, I had way too many losses under my sleeve, and I needed to excel at something. Maybe that is one of the reasons why I flourished in creative fields. But irrespective of all that, I do wholeheartedly believe that every single one of us has a creative side. And this creativity is exactly what distinguishes us from other people and other species. You've never seen a monkey trying to light a fire, have you? Exactly. So I want you to hold on to this because I need you to remember that the earth without art is just a rock. And I do not want to live on a rock without any beauty on it. You and your ideas is exactly what makes the earth beautiful. So what are you hesitating for? 10 years down the line, you are not going to remember what user 123 had to say about your singing, your dancing, or your painting. But I can assure you that you will look back 100% and thank yourself for continuing to persist even in the presence of countless user 123s trying to tear you down. Something I try to tell myself every time I'm scared to do something out of the ordinary is that no one remembers anyone from the 1800s who did the same exact thing as everyone. So take that step and hope to make history. Thank you.